good evening. Rest in peace, Coyotes. So, not a lot dropped this past Friday, so I didn't really do it before the drop video. I did listen to an album that did release that Friday, though, and you'll be very surprised of the score that I'm going to give it. I'll leave it as a spoiler there. But I wanted to talk about We Still Don't Trust You, which is probably the biggest drop of that night, as well as We Don't Trust You as a little bit of a revision. So before we get into this album, let's start off with We Don't Trust You. So my original score was a 7 out of 10. And while I still think the album has a fair share of problems and a fair share of mediocre tracks that kind of just play its way to the finish line without really bringing anything substantive, I do think some songs have really grown on me to become some of my favorites, particularly What the Fuck You Mean, and also Magic Dom 1 / Princess Diana. Those two songs I've been returning to consistently, and those two songs by themselves has kind of elevated the album just by a slight bit. So I like to do revisions whenever I can because I like to be open to change with an album, to be open with the score as well. So with that, it actually just jumps up just a slight bit to a 7.5 out of 10. So that's where it currently sits. I don't think it's going to go any higher than that. I did say before that I was going to be doing a 1 month later revisit of We Don't Trust You. Consider that as this. So now let's talk about We Still Don't Trust You. So the critic score is a 40% and a user score of a 63%. So this is not being received nearly as well as We Don't Trust You with a critic score of a 62 and a user score of a 71. And I think the length has to do a major part of that being this album is almost as long as a feature-length film. It's like an hour and 26 minutes. And while I think that's just par for the course with albums nowadays, where albums are just really long, I still think, in my opinion, that is completely unnecessary. But with that being said, this album still has some really great moments on it, and it does have some really good runs of tracks. This Sunday onwards in particular, this is where the album really picks up. The title track, We Still Don't Trust You, is a really great set piece for the album to be a little bit more moodier, a little bit more R&B and melodic inspired, kind of going back to the sounds of Hendrix. So We Still Don't Trust You is the title track with The Weeknd. It's a great song. You can kind of really consider like a Dawn FM kind of throw it away because there's a couple of songs on here that are very reminiscent of Dawn FM sound. This Sunday, though, is probably my favorite. Just the warbling kind of synth in the background and a little bit of the slower pace is really fantastic. I also really like the song with The Weeknd, where The Weeknd is dissing Drake on there. I believe it's All Night. That's one of my favorite songs on there as well. It's a very simple beat, but Metro really knows how to make simplicity and kind of just build onto that to make it just sound just really beautiful and kind of something that's a little bit out of Future's comfort zone, as well as Beat It. Beat It has an amazing kind of chopped soul sample that's also fantastic. And Came to the Party is one of my favorites too, mostly because the hook is both hilarious and also very catchy. So there's some great songs on here, and there's a lot more peaks than there is valleys. And not to mention, there's the second disc that features a little bit of songs that are not really produced by Metro. It's a little bit more of a bonus tape, kind of more of a victory lap of this kind of album cycle that we've been going through. There's some amazing tracks on there like Crossed Out. The song with A$AP Rocky just goes really hard. And these beats are a little bit more aggressive, and I think these songs have definitely were recorded a long time ago. So it's nice to have them resurface and kind of show up on this album. It doesn't really do well with the cohesiveness of the rest of the project, but that's why it's kind of separated the way that it is with disc 1 and disc 2. So overall, I do like this project, and there is a good amount of moments that I really appreciate, but the problem is the length. And no matter if you have a fantastic album, it's going to be very hard to really escape the fact that this album is still almost an hour and a half in length, and I think that really hinders its replay value. And sure, albums nowadays are kind of made for playlists. You kind of take certain songs, you throw them onto a playlist. Maybe this kind of album is not meant to be a full kind of listen, like just to sit down and listen to the whole way through. Maybe this album isn't made for that, but for me personally, I really like my albums to just kind of have a reason to be albums, not a reason just to a playlist where you can just chuck on songs without any cohesive merit. Even though the sound is cohesive, I just feel like 25 tracks is a little bit unnecessary. So with that being said, I think this is the rating down here for We Still Don't Trust You. It's a little bit worse than We Don't Trust You, which I think is a common consensus. And I think a 6.5 out of 10, considering how long the album is. I still give it its merit for having some really good moments on it. But again, it's just a little bit too long. That's my personal opinion, though. So you're more than welcome to discuss it in the comments. Is this one of your favorite Future albums? I would be surprised if that's the case. What are some takeaways of some of your favorite tracks? And just let me know what do you think about these two projects in general. And I'm really wondering of how collaborative projects are going to go in the future, because, man, these albums are both doing really well critically at these points now and also doing very well commercially. So I think we're going to be expecting albums like this to come out a lot more, and we're already starting to see that. So thank you very much for watching, and I will talk to you again soon.